welcome to my talk. Thank you for coming. It's titled Unlocking OpenSCD, and this is what I would like to talk about today, just to explain a bit what OpenSCD is, and then trying to demonstrate. I have a little demo also at the end. Let's see how that's going to work. So at first, before we start, I would like to get to know you a bit better. Just what I'm interested in is how many of you write software code? Doesn't have to be professionally, just, you already saw code, basically. All right, that's good enough. Okay, who we are? I work at a company called SprintEins. We have a few locations in Germany and a bit in Europe. So we are a software company, as I said. We create custom software where you can't really have anything off the shelf. That's when we basically come in. Who I am? Mostly, I'm a father of 3 and a software developer. That's who I am. And I have a few roles. I'm a lead of domain development. That's not interesting for now. This means a bit of additional organizational responsibilities. I'm also managing the location we have in Budapest, and I am one of the maintainers of OpenSCD. And that is what I would like to talk about today. So what is OpenSCD first? Maybe we can clear that out of the way. So OpenSCD is a tool. It tries to enable fully digital substations. Yeah, this is our definition. So basically from design through commissioning and maintenance and replacement. So we would like to help out in the full life cycle of a substation. It is also an IEC 61850 tool. That means the designs you create with it is going to be compatible with other similar tools and vice versa. So that's the basic definition, what we tell about OpenSCD. Probably you know way better what these things are than me, but I would like to still use the occasion for a reality check for me if I understood them. So a substation, right? So a typical substation's role is to transform high voltage to low voltage. Okay, so far so good. That's, I think, enough also for me. An ID, or an intelligent electronic device. So basically what they do is monitor and control the substation, so everything is going according to plans. Yeah, so far so good. Nice. If I made any mistake, you can call me out on it later. And IEC 61850, their main goal is to standardize the communication protocols between the IEDs. Right, okay, so no two big mistakes so far. Very good. So this is why we have this tool, basically. I think I would like to talk about 3 aspects of OpenSCD. I think it's important to separate these perspectives because everybody has different needs and requirements and want to maybe use OpenSCD for different reasons. The first one is, of course, the user perspective, where our users are technical engineers or electrical engineers and technicians involved in designing and anything around digital substations and substations. The other one is, of course, as a company, you maybe have a different requirement and you have a different way of choosing tools and you look a bit different. So companies who use OpenSCD are, of course, utilities and system integrators. But for example, we, as a software company, we also use it. So we have also a bit different perspective than the users. And as a developer, so as an individual, why would you like to work with OpenSCD? Why do you want to recommend it? And why would you choose it? So these are the 3 perspectives I'd like to go through. Beginning of the engineering perspective, as I said, I'm not really into this thing. I don't know too much about it, but this is so far what I understood from the community. So one good point is always the graphical user interface, because as I understood in the past, even today, these designs, the SCD files or STL files are XML files, and even today they get edited manually, so from time to time. So providing a graphical user interface is a way to help the engineers make life easier. So we try to make their lives easier, and with this also we can reduce any errors and problems that come up when you manually edit a file. Then validation and error checking is, I feel like always a bit underestimated, because it sounds like, okay, it's easy enough and it's good that it's there, but you think you wouldn't miss it. But you can validate your STL files. You can validate it against a schema, or you can check out if the syntax is correct. That's already good. But what in OpenSCD is additional, what you can do is you can create validators that validate your files semantically. For example, you could have a naming convention in your company. Then you can really make sure that your engineers really keep to it. And basically increasing, the next point maybe is the interoperability of the designs. This is also, I think, interesting. As I mentioned, it's an IEC 61850 tool. We use the standard, we implement the standard, and the files you create is basically compatible with other tools that use 61850, which I saw today that, for example, Fletch Power also uses it, and other tools definitely. Another interesting point, which again I don't think it gets mentioned enough, is the community. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. Who is the community? But from the engineering perspective, we always have engineers in our rounds, in our meetings, and they not just talk about software, but a bit more abstract how they think at the company, how they design, what's their design principles. And they share ideas, and this is always a good way to learn from each other. And again, this is I think always a big advantage using some common software. But okay, how does OpenSCD look like? This is it. On the top we have what we are interested maybe today is the plugin. What we see is I just picked out the Substation plugin because I think this is one that you can maybe recognize the best. Right, we have a bunch of plugins. So everything you see in the list, we have a few default plugins, and I would like to see that on the first list on the button you can see something like open project and new project. Just keeping that in mind. This is gonna be maybe interesting later. And why is it a plugin and why is it not part of something? So if you are interested in the full plugin list, there's the link. It's on GitHub, and you can check out, or you can scan the QR code. Okay, next up would be the company perspective. Why should companies want to work with OpenSCD? First, as an open source, it's cost-saving things, but I feel like it's not like, because the software is free, so you don't have to buy it, because there is no such thing as free software. But what you can do with an open source software from a cost-saving perspective is that you can reduce time to work on, for example, infrastructure. Usually open source software to set up, to onboard people and set up infrastructures is way easier, way quicker. And infrastructure costs way less, so to say, than people cost. And that's one thing I always missing when we talk about open source. If you worked already with closed source software and inner source, there is a way more steps to set up a project and onboard people. And with open source, you just point them to a URL and here you go. You can start developing. So that's a big cost saving point. Again, from a company perspective, increase interoperability is again a big point, I think, because you have to work maybe with the vendors, you have to work with other utilities, system integrators, and if you use the same tool, then it increases the chances that exchanging designs and everything still stays compatible. Improved reliability and safety. This point is also interesting. I heard a few arguments yesterday too, is that of course there are vendors. If we think about IEDs, there are big name, big vendors, you can trust them. But if one falls out for whatever reason, you have to not just switch vendor, but you have to switch products. And they might be compatible, but as far as I heard, that's also not really sure. If you work with the community and you work on OpenSCD, with OpenSCD, if somebody falls out, for example, you hire a software company, but for some reason they can't support you anymore, the only thing you have to switch is vendors, but not the product itself. So because we work together, then you will more easily find somebody that can take over the work. And I think this is some really great risk management from my perspective. And again, the whole collaboration, I can't, and probably I'm going to mention it a few times today. This is something we also discussed also yesterday, that we have to collaborate together. It's not about on what we collaborate. The goal is not that through collaboration we create something that we use, but I think it's the other way around. We use the something to learn to collaborate, to really get there where we collaborate and we work together. So again, I think this is sometimes needs a bit, you have to think from the other perspective, the other way around. All right, so but with whom would you collaborate? So the community looks more or less like this. We have vendors like Omicron, they also develop OpenSCD and plugins for it. You would have us, SprintEins, where we mainly contribute through our software experience and with plugins. And then you have, of course, the utilities who already use Transnet BW, TSO in southern West Germany, Alliander, we all know from the Netherlands, and Transpower from New Zealand. So all of them already use and contribute actively, and they are in the meetings, and we try to work together to create something nice. What I also like to talk about is always is the history, how we get there, where we are today, and where we would like to go from here on. So the whole project OpenSCD started at Omicron. Jacob Vogelsang saw a problem, and he tried to solve it by himself. So he started with a Java desktop application, but he quickly realized that's not the way to go. We already had desktop applications with all their disadvantages, and he wanted something different, but didn't quite know how. So Christian Dinkel got on board, also at Omicron, and they created a progressive web app. I'm gonna get into that, what that means. So basically they chose the web platform instead of desktop application. Then the project got attention. It started growing. Alliander, for example, with CoMPAS, chose OpenSCD as its front end. Then Transpower checked out the app, and again, because of the plugin system and the whole technical decisions, tried out, and they still use it today and create plugins, and they use it also in production. And of course, we started with Transnet BW also with OpenSCD. So we are in the project a bit over a year now. And the next step where we find ourselves is scaling, where we got bigger projects, we got maybe more users, but it brings their own challenges. One thing I like to talk about why we are here. So OpenSCD is not part of LF Energy. The community tried to join LF Energy. We wanted to join for all the advantages you all know about, but there was not always, we didn't always agree on if we need this or not. So for a while, the community was a bit separated. We still worked together, but everybody had its own path a bit. And at the end, the final step, we couldn't make the final step to join because of, may I say, stupid reasons, right? So legal trademark reasons, which is, from one point of view, totally understandable. If you put enough energy in a project, you don't really want to give it up. So nobody argued that it's a legal stupid reason for sure, but it's an understandable one. So you don't want to give up your work. So what we learned through this process are two things. I learned, at least, we overestimate the software itself, and again we underestimate the collaboration and the community. What we learned, what my feeling was the older way, which I could only describe as a really good point. If you know about the Agile Manifesto, it's really point on, as I would like to quote. So individuals and interactions over procedures and tools. And this was exactly how I felt. I didn't really care too much about the software. What I was missing is the community and the collaboration around it, because I like to work on a tool with the others, and I felt like it was way better when we worked on together. And also, so this was one point, and we saw, okay, the community, so it doesn't worth it to destroy one community for maybe another or different one. That was not really sure also. So that's why we thought, okay, we went through a process. We tried everything to figure out how we can work together. We got a lot of help for Eliander's OSPO. Also, already thank you for that. I think we are everybody thankful for it, because there was a clear process how to go through these things. And at the end, couldn't agree. It was everything fine. We saw that there is no way with LF Energy right now with this, but because again because of these processes and these points and everything, everything was handled professional, and nobody got angry, and there was no emotion. So I'm really happy that how it turned out, because what the future is now, what we think, what we are working on. So we already got the community back together, and we've tried to figure out a way how we can merge our projects and our efforts on OpenSCD back together again. And that's what we are working on. So OpenSCD got another boost with developers and contributors, or got back the originals. And then now we try to figure out another way how to work on the project. Right, so that's where we're at. If you choose to join, what are your options? Just the basic ones. Either you use OpenSCD alone in a browser, then you can, of course, work on your files locally. Nothing leaves the browser, nothing goes anywhere, everything is safe. You get all the plugins, you can create plugins, you can do anything with it. If you need a bit more, then of course we have CoMPAS for backend integration, and CoMPAS enables authentication, authorization in a central database, so you don't have to manage your files yourself. You can choose, you can really first start with the OpenSCD alone, and then if you need more and if you like it, then you can go the way and choose and also have CoMPAS for it as a backend. So again, I think the others working at these companies, utilities, can talk about it more, and they are happy to talk about their experience. And I'd like to invite you to get in touch with them. We are on Zulip. It's a chat app. It's also a web. You can just open it and go ahead and chat with the others. Yeah, there's a small login process as in everything, but without login you can always read everything, so everything is open. You can find also our meeting schedule. You can just drop by if you need more information or would you like to ask us something. Okay, so now I would like to get into the details of development. This is where I know more. So OpenSCD, as I mentioned, it's a web platform. So we are on a web platform. We are in the browser. It's a browser app because also, in my opinion, the web is the best distribution for any app. It's just the easiest way to get your application out there and to the users, because you just have to type in a URL and you have always the most updated, the up-to-date version of the app. And again, it's really easy on the IT departments because they don't have to go through the desktop the desktop update process and everything. Yes, and on top of that, OpenSCD is a progressive web app or a PWA. This is a set of features, but the most important features for us is the offline capability. So you open OpenSCD once, and then your browsers make sure that you have OpenSCD even if you don't have internet connection. On top of that, we not just, so to say, make OpenSCD offline available, but also all the plugins and everything that belongs, so you can really work on the way or at anywhere where you don't have on the train, you don't have internet connection. And if you have internet connection again, and you open OpenSCD, then you get again the new version if there was an update. So you basically don't have to care about do you have the newest version. You always almost probably going to have. A big strength of OpenSCD, I think, it's architecture, the plugin architecture, and especially what it enables. Because it enables you to work independently. You can work on different plugins. You can work independently from others. And with this, you can have different roadmaps, different priorities, and you can parallelize work and reduce. I think what's interesting, reduce the blast radius. That means if one of the plugins, something goes wrong in one of the plugins, it doesn't affect the others. You can still use the rest of the system. And we try to create an independent platform, technology-independent platform. That means, again, the choice of technology is yours. You can create plugins in, I would say, with all the popular front-end technologies. There's a way to do that, and so you don't have to train your developers in another framework, something else. You can use what you already have. And of course, there is the one last thing. This is what we also use is a distribution. You can create your own distribution and customize it OpenSCD a bit more, but what's not possible with plugins. So this is really the high-level customization where you go, okay, I need to make fundamental changes, but of course it's still possible. So I would like to talk about the plugin system and why I think it's again one of the best features of OpenSCD. So as you can see, in OpenSCD almost everything is a plugin. We have the menu here, and that's why I meant so open project, new project, save project. These are all plugins and not part of OpenSCD. And why it is important is, for example, a good example is open project. So by default, if you use OpenSCD, you open projects from your local PC. So you open your local files. But with CoMPAS, for example, the CoMPAS version of OpenSCD, it's the open project is replaced with another open project plugin. And instead of opening files from locally, you open files from your server. And that's it. I mean, it's, you just have to replace one plugin and already you are compatible with a backend. As I mentioned, all these plugins are cached and available also offline without internet. And you can even add plugins manually only for yourself. You don't have to go and talk to your IT to please enable a plugin. Of course, you can disable these features if necessary, but if you start to use it and try to play around it, I'm going to show you later how it's done. You can just basically add your plugins also from locally or from somewhere else, so you can use any plugin that's available. Another advantage of the plugin system is that, for example, you can have totally different configuration for different environments. In this scenario, let's say we have a production environment, we have a test and a development environment, and you can just have totally different configuration depending on where you are at the development process of a plugin. For example, let's say on the development platform, I think this is pretty typical. We always have the latest version of a plugin in order to try out, to test it a bit in the development, to show it if this feature is what we meant to do. On the test environment, for example, you can try out the new feature, really go through with the engineers, through your test scenarios and through everything. And at the end, whenever you're ready, you can update the one plugin at a time if you want the production. So if you are sure that everything works, then you can update just the one plugin. I would like to go back here just for a second. So because everything is versioned differently, you can really replace one plugin at a time. You don't have to always create a whole new release of the whole. You don't even create a release of OpenSCD. You just update one piece of the puzzle, so one plugin, and then it really reduces risk of something going wrong. Right. So we can ask what is a plugin. This is where we get into maybe a bit into detail. I'm not gonna, hopefully, I'm not gonna talk too much about it. So a plugin is a unregistered custom element. It has to be a subclass of HTML element, and it's default exported. Basically, what this all means is we use a standard, and this is really a small set of requirements, and it's necessary to create, again, technology independent platform. So these are not something that is really too hard to achieve. So every framework, every library basically can make this work in some way. Yeah, just examples. So what I meant with unregistered custom element, if anybody knows what I'm showing here, then it's fine. If not, you don't really have to know too much about this. It's so basically, this is it. This is the requirement we have. It has to be an unregistered. It's basically missing something here, what we don't do. There's something you shouldn't do. And then this is where we load the plugins. We load them dynamically at runtime, and then we create a custom tag for it. And that's why important that it's unregistered, because otherwise there would be congestion, and there would be like, how do you say? So you could basically break other plugins, but we take care of that it doesn't happen, because how we put into the HTML DOM here is that we have basically, we name your plugins for you with more or less a random hash, and so there is no conflicts with other plugins. We have, as you may saw, 3 different plugin types. We have editor plugins. They mostly take care of, again, just the editor plugins is where the most of the work takes place. The only requirement they have is they have to accept an XML document. That's it. That's the SCD file. Menu plugins have to have a run function. This is just to trigger when the users click on a menu point. And validators have a validate function that we trigger every time the file changes, so you can make sure that everything is still valid. So I'm going to try, I'm not sure how I'm going to make it with this microphone, but I would like to show you how easy and quick you can create a plugin. I think in the remaining time, I think I can easily make it if I, okay. So I'm going to put the microphone down for a sec. So let's see how I can do it with one hand. So I have here, again, maybe it's for development, and but I would like to demonstrate how quick it goes. So what you have to do, there is I have a template for us. It's written in Svelte, also not interesting, but what you can do here, is it quick enough? Is basically click here and say, okay, I would like to have a new, I would use the template to create a new repository. So I'm going to use this name, but I am going to prefix it with OSCD for open source, for OpenSCD, and then basically copy everything over to my repository. So it's not a fork. It doesn't mean, it means it's not going to have too much connections with the original one. The only thing it's going to have is that you can see, okay, this repository has been created with this template. So what you would do with this, this template already comes with its own CI/CD, which is not too much. but it's already started to build. And I know it's gonna fail because we have to get just 2 permissions, or basically one permission and another settings out of the way. And one is to allow basically the action to work in our repository. So in the meantime, it already failed. So very good, but first it's going to be tricky. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get the source code of this new plugin that I created, and I'm going to open it to change its name because it has because it has the name just as in the template. So what you do, again, I would like to rather demonstrate the speed and not to talk about too much how it's done. So I'm going to just install all the dependencies. We saw yesterday how important it is to take care of your dependencies. And then we are ready to go locally in a second. Everything should be cached, it should be quick. That's it. I'm going to start it up. What it does right now, it starts local development environment, but that's easy. That's it. So that's your onboarding to OpenSCD and create a plugin. You already have it. When we open it, we see it doesn't do too much, but so to say, this is the URL where the plugin, the file itself is available. It's going to be important. And this is the plugin itself, just to have a small demo. So as you can see, we already have, this is from the template, and you can quickly replace it with your name. Right, and if we see, we refresh it quickly, then we see, okay, we changed basically everywhere the name. So now we can say that that's fine for now. I'm not gonna bother with this too much, and I would like to push it. So we now go into back to our GitHub, because it's an automatic change detection. Of course, CI/CD, it already started the pipeline again, and hopefully I configured it correctly so it can really do what it's meant to do. The build process, I always like to, I think this is just a superstition, but it's always nice to check out the details and see that every step go through and everything is going to be fine. But so far, so looks good. The plugin is built and deployed. So what it did is created a branch here. It's called GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages is a feature of GitHub where you can host your files and websites and basically everything that is static. And you only have to enable it. If I can, here, Pages, find it. You have to build it once, then you can enable it. And it kicks off another workflow, another CI/CD pipeline here, and it's going to deploy now our plugin to a place where it's openly available and everybody can use it. But until we wait, we have already our local one, and you can just open any OpenSCD instance and go to in the menu to extensions. This is where we have all our extensions. Oh, I already have this. Yeah. Just a second. So this is where you can also customize your version of OpenSCD. I'm just going to turn off most of the things so we can see what's important. But here on the button there's an add extension, and I can name it, I'm just going to name it LF Energy. And you can choose which kind of plugin you would like to install, and you have to copy this URL to here and edit. And now you have to just open a file, and we have our plugins here. As you can see, this is here. So that's it. Your team is onboarded, ready to go, ready to develop a plugin. Nothing stands in your way anymore. In the meantime, the deployment is also ready. The only thing is here is missing. So to copy the right one. So this URL is again available for everybody, so you can already develop and you can already send it to colleagues, so they can try out your plugin. Again, same way. Oops. Gonna call it 2, so we can see it's an editor, it's an available plugin, and we already have this here, and it's working. So with that, we have our plugins. That's everything basically you have to know. I think you can make it under 5 minutes. I would like to see how any other project does this, because I don't think that it's really, you cannot really be much quicker than this. Just going back here. And with that, thank you for your attention, and this is where you can reach us. I know GitHub is not really popular, as I heard these days, but you can at least find our where you find us is Zulip. You can just open and then chat us. So thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, maybe I can start one. How many of you already knew OpenSCD? Yeah, okay. All right. And do you use it? How many of you try to play around with it? Or just know about it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Still, anything? All right. Yes. I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think I know what you mean. Personally, I'm probably not gonna take care or not gonna take part because, as I said, I am not really. I don't know much about electrical engineering, so I'm a software developer. But I think our users might. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Then have fun in the rest of the day. Thank you.